missing is the connection between VFX people and everybody else from the movie industry, you know. So we need to have a little bit more contact and exchange about that. And that will help everybody.
Maybe you can tell us about that, but is it easy for an independent director or producer to go to a major VFX company and ask for help?
Maybe not the major ones, because they are very busy and they have the projects, you know, very much in advance, and usually it might be 2-3 years, but some of them will be open, you know. You can always, if you have the script, if you have part of the budget, you say, okay, can you make a bid, you know, they will make an evaluation of the price. But you have a lot of small facilities who are looking for projects and who are happy to work on projects.
And they can co-produce, actually, the film
some of them,
sometimes.
Yes. That's also another thing now, because everybody is running after tax break, you know, either in Britain or Canada, or, you know, so films are financed that way. Some more and more facilities are also co-producing it. And so, okay, we can advance the money, but it goes with the tax release as well. So it starts to be a lot of financing things.
Yeah,
you know.
And it's always changing. We don't know what's going to happen in the UK.
Well, yes, at the moment. It is a bit difficult because everybody is panicking a bit. And of course, producers are panicking like everybody else. But anyway, nothing can change for the next 3 years, for, you know. So I hope things will calm down a little bit now, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, for those who have finished their current project, are you already starting a new one with SFX or visual effects? I don't know, Michael?
Yeah, I'm writing on a historic topic, so yeah,
so you'll need some.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So Laura, maybe.
I'm with my grade thesis, that is a feature film, and I'm doing the FX of that. So, and he helped me with the practical effects too. So I'm just in that, just finishing that movie.
And
right now.
You'll always work with the FX.
I love
it's a passion.
genre, and I'm a Harry Potter fan, so I love magic, and for me, FX, it's magic. So, yeah.
Okay, Isaac?
Yes, I'm working in a couple of projects at the moment. I believe as a director it's important to have a lot of projects in development and see what happens, because making a film is so much time. It's years of your life until it happens, and then it's year until it's finished, and then it's year until it's released. Sometimes when you have a film released, you are already a different person than when you started it. So I think it is important, if you have many projects in development, one in post-production, one maybe writing the script, so all the time you have work. So that's how it happened with the Incident and The Similar, my 2 films. And now I'm also working in 2 films. One is more in the vein of like a horror drama coming of age, and one is more sci-fi, and both have effects. Of course, I really like effects, but I like effects to be working for the story, of course, for not just for the sake of them, but usually the ideas and the stories I come up with need effects.
And Talal, when you're done with your 180 VFX shots, will you be disgusted with the effects?
Yeah, this is the last time.
Jaws.
For now, it's
Remember
going to be
Jaws.
dramas in apartment, French apartment. That's it.
Kitchen
no creature,
and room, you know.
Yeah, kitchen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Talking in the
park.
park. No, it's not French enough.
No.
In the kitchen.
Well, it depends of what the next project gonna be. I have a lot of things in my head and have stuff that's written that needs, of course, again, visual effects. Too bad for me. But yeah, next time I will be more careful, because when you don't have enough money, when you're not organized and conscious of the difficulty that it's gonna be ahead of you, it's a true nightmare. So next time I would love to do something else with visual effects and make the perfect match that I wish that I could do with that movie. I mean, visual effects and special effects mixing together. And I think that, for what I heard from my friends, it's that we are looking for making the perfect match, and that takes time and takes a lot of thinking. So, yeah, well, hopefully this is a good opportunity to meet great people and yeah, think of the future, imagining the future.
Yeah. And one last question for the directors: if tomorrow you had the chance to direct for a very good salary, a very big VFX heavy movie, 2,000 VFX shots in the film, 12 executives on your back, would you do it?
It's experience, so why not? If you, I don't know, it's some kind
There
of
is
a
no right
strange
answer to
question.
that. I would
Yeah.
take the salary maybe and
Yeah,
finance
yeah.
two other films
Why
with that.
not? I don't realize the nightmare that it could be too. Maybe you have the taste. You had the taste.
I will
of
do
it.
it. No
Yeah,
problem.
well, of course, for money and sex.
No, I like to have a lot of problems to solve on projects. So yeah, for sure.
You?
I mean, if I like the story, for me it all comes about if I like the story.
Well,
and
you
if I
don't
like the
necessarily
project.
like the story.
If I don't like the story at all, I will try to change it until a way when I
Well,
like
you
it
have
and I will
12
do it.
executives on your back.
I will try to put my vision into them, and if
It's
they like it,
impossible.
I
It's
will do it.
Hollywood. You have Kevin Feige
Then
deciding.
I guess I will do it.
You would do it? Okay.
Yeah.
Michael? You're in, okay. So mercenaries here. That's good. Well, we have time for a few questions, from the audience. So feel free.
Hi, you've talked about budget, but not where the budgets come from. And I wonder if it is production companies, yourselves, crowdfunding, how does it work?
That's a good question, and the subject of a whole conference. How did you get the budget, Michael? You have the mic.
That was like the very regular way doing it in Switzerland, like with funding, state funding, government funding. It's a very painful way. I think if you want to do something that is a little bit different, I mean they normally want to have a straight plot with one main character and something that will be a movie. And we were like, yeah, we have 10 directors. It's 9 different stories. There's this cloud. Switzerland's gonna die, and so it was. It really took forever, but it was. I think 4 years in total.
To get it financed. Wow.
No, like from yeah. I mean, you finance in different steps, right? You try to get money for writing the script, and you try to get money for shooting. So yeah, in total, yes.
Where do you want to find the financing? How do you?
Well, it's the same. It's state fundings, and the challenge is to find co-producers who can bring enough money in each territory to.
Do you
bring
need
budget.
pre-sales or for that kind of?
That was a
project?
problem when my project was a short film, but now it will be a new way to find money. So yeah, it's pre-sales, it's co-producers with state funding, and there are also other things like, for example, I was in Annecy where I met people from Japan. They can buy the marketing rights for the puppets and all the products for Asia, and they bring you money without doing anything in the movie. So there are always other ways to bring the money. But right now, for a project like mine, Kickstarters, it's really I think it's really the cherry on the cake at the very end of the process.
Yeah, and it's not working as well as it used to.
I have never done a campaign like that myself, but I heard a lot of people saying that it was a lot of energy, very team of people to do a real campaign. So it's not a miracle.
It's months and months to prepare a good campaign on Kickstarter or anything like
Yeah,
that, because
and
then you have the rewards to handle.
yeah, you have to
And that's almost as as much work as editing and post-producing the film.
but it is also something that you add on an existing financing process. It's not the first part of the puzzle.
Laura, how did you find the financing?
The movie was, we like to call it self-financed. The money was from out of our pockets, or we did a lot of parties. And we have a kind of a really big number of drunk friends that went there and leave their money to make the films. And we also did a lot of, because this was a movie that was released in chapters, as I told you, and we create like a fans, followers. So in that parties, we also did T-shirts like the ones we have, and we did posters and pins and all that stuff we all fans like to buy when we like a movie. So that was the way we found to collect the money. We also did the same thing with with all the merch in United States, because we had a friend there and he sold the same thing we sold in Argentina but in dollars. So it was great because it was one of that was 10 for us, and that was like really a good deal. And it was really
Your friends, they paid consciously for the drinks, or you made them drink to make them pay unconsciously?
We always had the name drink or you will not see the next chapter. It was like that.
Okay. So
In Mexico, I think very Switzerland, to what Mikael commented about Switzerland, most of the films, 80% of the film industry is funded by the state. We're very lucky to have the Mexican Film Institute, who gives a lot of support for production. However, the problem is that it's very hard to apply for these funds. The way it works is that you can get any company to give you 10% of their tax, of the tax they pay each year. Instead of to the government, they give you to make a film. Any company, Coca-Cola, whatever company you wanna take, but you have to submit the papers to the government, and they have to approve that this company gives you this tax. And it's very hard to make films that are not social dramas, a film that is science fiction or genre. And also, in order to apply for these funds, you need to have either, if you are a first-time filmmaker, you need to have either a producer who has done 10 films, a DP who has done 10 films. You have to be surrounded by this team. So obviously, when I was just fresh out of university, I didn't know these people. So as anyone, I started with my family, my friends, making short films, and that's how I did The Incident, my first film, which was very low budget, and it was funded with private investors. We got 15 private investors, and we presented them as like 4 possible scenarios of how could the movie be as a business, with DVD sales and international sales and all. And with this, we got the money for The Incident. And then while this was happening, I was making this connection for the people who I need to know to apply for the Mexican Film Institute for Los Parecidos, my second film. So that's how I got it in my case. The first film was funded privately, and the second by the government.
Guillermo del Toro had a lot of trouble to have Kronos financed in Mexico.
Yeah, and that was another time. I mean, that was I think it was in the 90s. And,
yeah, 1993.
93. And that was like really breakthrough, because it was like the only film in that genre. Now, there are more films in that genre, but also there
and
are
it
more...
won Best Film in the Mexican awards.
Yeah, in the Ariels, that's right. I'd won it, but now it's because there are more people. It's not so surprising when somebody makes a genre film. But starting in 2006, so like 10 years ago, was when this started with the Mexican Film Institute and stuff. And crowdfunding, I mean, I recommend it for the advertisement that you can get about your project, but I think it's a lot of work and for the amount of money you get, maybe it's not enough for the budget of a whole film. I mean, maybe it can be for the post-production, or for the development, or for a short film you're going to look, something like that. That's what I think.
Yeah, Jennifer Kent did a Kickstarter for Babadook, and
Oh, really?
it was to enhance the sets, just to add value to the sets and to.
So that more people.
So it
would
was
know
just
about
the cherry on the cake. She had financing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And also, Charlie Kaufman did Anomalisa, but when you are someone in the level of Charlie
Yeah.
Kaufman, you just put your name and yeah, you can get it. Or like, what's the name of this guy, Zach? The guy who did is it Zach? No, not Zach Efron. Is it? No, Zach Braff, the guy who did
Yeah,
the film.
yeah, that was a big deal when he did that.
Yeah.
He didn't need that.
Well, it's pretty tough to find financing in France for horror and fantasy, especially when you're not famous or something and you don't have big casting. So in general, when you don't have a TV, many producers says, okay, we don't have TV, your project is dead. This is in France, Canal Plus or Orange or France Télévisions. In my case, I got pretty lucky because even if many people said to me that you can not get finance in Morocco for a horror movie, I was really goodly surprised to see that it was possible. So Moroccan government gave a big part of the money. France gave it also, the government, but only for visual effects because production is getting money for production from the government is really tough also for genre. And a bit from the seller, and I had to put myself, I took a credit to make the shooting, which is I guess tough.
Yeah.
And that's all. You have to get your government involved, I guess, in a way, because it depends of the project, if it's big or small. But I guess so.
Do we have time for one question? Okay. Don't be shy.
Thank you. Going back to CGI, could you tell the average cost of, let's say, 5-second traveling plan and a full background?
Well,
It depends
all
on what you have on the screen.
every facility will give you a different price, and most of the time, if you want to do a shot or a specific shot, you go somewhere and you say, okay, this is my budget. What can you do for that budget? And we'll do it. In VFX, we are not here to make the movie. We are here to do what the director wants to do. And it's not easy because a lot of facility will try to push the way they know how to do it. It might be too expensive for the producers, but actually the good ones will just fit the budget. And then, of course, it might not be what you have in mind if you don't have the budget, but it's about discussions, and then we can make it for the price that you want.
So always about compromise.
Well, yeah, everybody has to make some compromise, except if you win to the lottery, and you can have the budget you want.
You started with 40 shots on The Nice Guys. That's what you said,
Well,
and
yes,
you
it-
ended.
it was about 40 shots.
And you ended up with 400.
Yeah, something like
so
that. Yeah, because
was it multiplied by 10 the budget?
well, they had quite a big budget, and it's and it was discussion from the start. But for example, in the 70s, this is part of the story. I don't want to spoil it, so I will not tell too much about the movie.
It's a great film. Go see
But
it.
it was a comedy, and the pollution is big part of the story. And in the 70s, pollution in LA was awful. They couldn't do it practically because we had some very wide shots. We had to replace some of the buildings. We have to remove some of the buildings which were built after the 70s. and all this had to be done, so it was adding up. But Joel Silver, who is actually who was producing it, said, "Oh, you know, he liked the script, he liked the first test. He said, okay, let's put a bit more of it." So we started to do a lot of CG cars as well, and they were not in the script, but it's okay. We have the money. I want a highway full of cars from the 70s. You know, it just added up until we had a budget. And
So those were CG. Couldn't see it.
yes,
Yeah.
and this was a big problem because we received some GoPro footage from, and so we started to put our CG cars in there with the quality of the other shots, shot with the Alexa, and it didn't work, and we were like, okay, there is something wrong. And actually, we had to change the EXR, the very high definition images, to destroy them, to put them into JPEG 60%, in order to compose them to make it look like the plate. So yeah.
One more question? Okay, one more question. So, who has a question? Even a dumb one. Even a dumb one that works.
Yeah,
So it's going to be really dumb.
the last one. Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. The VFX director of Third Encounter from Spielberg was there, and he told me about VFX and Ace Candies. What do you think about what's the future for the VFX? I mean, are we going to be too much real, or should be like making the VFX like looking maybe less real, or maybe dirty, or it's kind of
Well, yeah, actually, Douglas Trumbull was there a few years ago, yeah, and he talked here about his retinal project.
Exactly,
That's right.
yeah,
That's what you're talking about. So his project is to have a laser beam projected to the retina of the spectator, and the laser beam would actually draw the image right on the eye of the spectator. So that's crazy. So is it possible in your opinion? What's your take on it?
We didn't know that VR could be so powerful a few years ago, so we never know, But in terms of the way the look of VFX will go, this all depends on the directors, because they all have a completely different visions. So, you'll have a realistic movie, we have to do very realistic visual effects. Then you do Harry Potter, of course, it's not very realistic when,
Yeah, I mean, I was working on my first long movie a few months ago, and then the big issue is like it looks so real when it's CG. It's so deep, it's when you make the footage in 4K. We had to put a lot of blur. It's crazy. I was not aware that we had to put so much blur.
Yeah, this is the main part. It has always been the most important part of it, to make it look dirty and natural, and to have some dust, and to break all the reflection on everything. So it's quite easy to build a CG model or city or building especially, but most of the work is in look dev is to make it look very dirty and natural. And that always takes a lot more time than the first steps of modeling it and texturing it.
Maybe a last thing is we never think about the colors, but the guy who make the colors in the movies are some guys are amazing. I mean, the whole movie keeps the same path with colors, with all the footage from the different studios, and I think that's something we never talk about.
To keep the same grading between different studios?
Exactly.
Well, usually what we do now is that we work on raw files, so it's very flat, and we have as much information as possible. So we use the plate with no grading at all. And if it looks right on that plate, all the facilities can do it. Then after the cut or in grading, they will grade the whole sequence. Some of these shots are VFX, some are coming straight from the camera, so they can grade the whole sequence the same way. It will look the same.
Actually, I'd like to add just a small thing. You talked about how CG looks incredibly real, etc. I tried. I was at Tippett Studio recently, and I tried. Have anyone seen Mad God, the short movie done in stop motion by Phil Tippett? Okay. Phil Tippett did a VR, so virtual reality version of Mad God. It's 1 minute long. You can, see it with the Samsung, gear or anything like that. It's in stop motion, and he used different frame rates, so 12 frames per second for that character, 17 for that character, 24 for that character, etc. And it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. It looks real, and but it's like a nightmare come true. So to me, that's what I hope is the future of special effects and visual effects. It's a completely different image, different kind of image, with a lot of soul and personality that looks like nothing else, that looks real in its own world, And when it's released, really see it. If you can try a VR gear, really. So.
I have a last question for Victor. Does it help to have a big star? And how did you catch up Elijah Woods to be part of your project? Would it be a good advice to say to a director that starts a project, maybe try to have a big star, and then you can ask for more inputs from producers or stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a good idea. But from the start, I had this voice in mind for this character. So it was not just to have a star in the movie. And I think it was luck too, because he's a movie star, but he's really interested in the work of other people. He's doing music. He's a producer too. He's producing young directors. So it was really the perfect type of actor to approach. And luckily he said yes. So yeah, it's really a good idea, because when I have a sequence like the one you saw, it's like an ambassador for the project. So yeah, it's a huge help.
So thanks a lot. That's a wrap. Thanks a lot.
So thanks everybody for this last session, and thanks to the audience for 2 days of great panels and conferences. Stay tuned for next year. We're gonna stay on that track and hopefully increase our panels and stuff. And next year there will gonna be, I can already tell you, there's gonna be something about interfaces. And yeah, we hope to see you next year. Bye, thanks.